So everyone's talking about America's Next Top Model right now, for a good reason. You all know that there's a Netflix documentary out right now. Came out about a month ago, probably. And a couple weeks ago, another documentary came out on E! That, quite frankly, I think is significantly better than the Netflix one. And cast members, previous contestants, judges, producers, whatever, they're all over the internet talking about all the backlash, and some are doing a bit of damage control. It's a whole situation. If you're wondering, like, hey, Savannah, where have you been? I've been working on a video about this, like, all encompassing, turning into a major deep dive, huge project, and it's taking a really long time. And so while I'm researching all of this stuff for this video I'm trying to make, I get to Janice Dickinson. If you've ever watched America's Next Top Model, or, you know, turned on a TV anywhere at this point, you have seen this woman. But Janice Dickinson, the self-proclaimed first ever supermodel in the whole wide world, was a judge on the main panel of America's Next Top Model for cycles 1 through 4. And she is known for being like the harshest judge in reality TV history, I think.
They're all fat. The entire room is fat. I'm fat. You're all fat.
Down.
Get your ass off and go over there.
Robin, first of all, is too old to be starting.
And fat. She's huge. She's not going to be a top model.
She won't. That's the reality.
She should work for a car toppling company.
Sip it, bitch. Sip it. You're dead, my friend.
And the reason I'm making a video about her is because as I'm sitting here researching the video I'm trying to make about America's Next Top Model, Janice Dickinson's over here on Instagram being the most unhinged, to the point where I have so much to say, and if I try to fit this into the script that I'm already making about America's Next Top Model, it's gonna take up like half the video. So I'm like, I'll just put it in its own video. Today, we are going to look at what Janice Dickinson is blabbing about on social media. It's a lot. Now, this woman is 71 years old, and in her 71 years of life, I'm not sure she's ever taken accountability for anything. It's just crazy because Janice is like the last person we all want to hear from. We're already pissed off enough at Tyra Banks. We're already pissed off enough at Ken Mock and other people involved in the show. But Janice is like, she's not even like someone you love to hate. She's not a likable person. She's never been a likable judge. She's never been a likable celebrity in general. In all of her appearances, she is not likable. And so now she's going to be like, oh, let me tell you about all the terrible things I experienced. No, Janice, no one wants to hear all this shit from you. She does a lot of deflecting here. Now, actually, Janice Dickinson has been speaking out against America's Next Top Model for like 15 years. I found a few videos of her doing interviews and talking about her time on the show, and she's had some terrible things to say about Tyra Banks, about the production, about this and that. But now that the heat is really on because like everyone's talking about it, she's like, oh no, none of that was me. I didn't do any of that. I was just doing my job. I was just doing what I was told. If I had known that this was happening, I totally would. Shut up. So obviously, if you haven't watched the documentaries about America's Next Top Model that are out right now, you really should. They are very telling, very good, very juicy. I personally have watched every single season multiple times. That was my comfort show as a teenager. Like, it would be on repeat on, what was it, like Lifetime, I think, would have it on repeat. Not TLC. I don't know. TBS? I just remember there were always reruns all the time of America's Next Top Model, and I've watched every season multiple times. Let's get into what's going on with Janice Dickinson. Make sure you leave a like on this video. Subscribe if you want to get in on this deep dive that I'm going to be putting together and uploading to this channel eventually. It's just a really big project, so I don't know when it'll be out. Give me a few weeks, okay? And hey, if you have the chance to leave hype points on this video, that always helps a whole lot. But sometimes YouTube says that you can put hype points on my videos, and other times it says you can't. So if you can today, do it. It'll help a lot. Thank you. So she posted, it looks like 6 parts. She has them labeled as like part 1, part 2, but like some of them are continued. So, okay, let's just start with the first one.
I was on America's Next Top Model for 4 seasons. I had close range right here to Tyra Banks. It was very, very long hours, not so much food to eat. Concept of America's Next Top Model, wonderful. Absolutely wonderful. I thought when Tyra asked me to do the job, she was friendly, like a friend, and I thought, oh great, I get to meet a new friend. she's gonna be my boss, and that will be cool.
So this, first of all, is really interesting to me. Obviously, Janice Dickinson and Tyra Banks knew of each other because they were both supermodels, but like, it's crazy to me, like, they had never worked together. Janice is sitting here being like, yeah, I was gonna make a new friend. I was gonna meet a new friend. Because on the show, they seem like they've known each other for years, but that's also fascinating to me because if Tyra didn't know Janice Dickinson personally, then like who did? And she does say this in the E documentary, but they basically hired her to be the Simon Cowell, you know, the one who gives the negative critiques and stuff like that. But she took it so far beyond that. But it's like someone had to know that Janice Dickinson was good at playing that character, you know? And apparently it wasn't Tyra. But then she's like, when Tyra asked me to, it's like, okay, so she's been in the industry a long time, so it's like she must have been known in the industry to just like be a raging bitch. And they're like, oh yeah, Janice Dickinson, she'll be great. Which is wild to me.
But it, little by little, it didn't turn out to be that cool. Because she asked me to be the negative impact, like Simon Cowell, the hard professor, you see, the one you love to hate.
I don't know. You let me know in the comments if you guys love to hate Janice Dickinson, because for me, I just could not stand her. I still can't stand her. I will say, she is 71 years old at this point. From what I've heard, she comes from a traumatic childhood, lots of awful stuff going on there, and then in the modeling industry, she got into a lot of alcohol and other bad things. She is probably sober by now, right? But like, didn't she go on Celebrity Rehab? She was on Celebrity Rehab. So whatever. I mean, I hope she's still sober and doing well. But anyway, back to her whole like typecasting, I guess. At least Simon Cowell, when someone is like exceptionally, undeniably, incredibly talented, Simon Cowell will give them credit where credit's due. But I feel like watching Janice Dickinson, she wouldn't even give that. She wasn't the type of judge who would ever give like decent feedback. She was just always harsh for no reason. Well, the reason being allegedly because she was typecasted to be that negative energy on the show. But to compare her to Simon Cowell is just wrong, because at least Simon Cowell like had moments where like it was almost a little bit heartfelt, you know? It's like, if Simon likes you, then you know you're going places. With Janice Dickinson, it's like, who's this bitch? Like, that picture looks nice. What is she talking about? So that's a failure in typecasting, I'll say, on Top Model's part.
I knew that that was my job. So that's what you saw of me on that TV show.
I call bullshit, dude. Because, like, when you watch any interviews, like, if she's on a red carpet or, like, she's always sassy and kind of always a bitch. She's like, no, I was only acting that way because they told me to. This is part 1. And she's already, like, trying to be like, no, you guys, you're all hating on me because you think that's the real me, but it's not. It's like, you're like that outside of Top Model, too, and people hiring you to be a bitch during interviews on the red carpet too? Like, what is your point, Janice? Like, I just feel like she think we're stupid. And it's also so frustrating. I think I speak for all of us on this part here, but Tyra clearly in the Netflix documentary took zero responsibility for herself. As a matter of fact, she tried to blame the audience on, you guys wanted this. You guys are the reasons we kept pushing things further and further. Janice is like, it was Tyra's fault. Like, I get it. Tyra probably was to blame for a lot of people, but, and you know, shame on Tyra for all the things that she's done to these girls who were contestants on the show. But Janice, please take responsibility for your shit too. Like, she's not taking responsibility for anything. She's like, it was Tyra's fault. And in the E documentary, she calls her a stone cold bitch. I guess if Janice Dickinson calls you a stone cold bitch, then it must be really bad. But I mean, you are too. Pot meat kettle, Janice. Anyway. Okay, so that was the first part. Well, I guess that was more of an introduction. This is part 1. Was I too harsh on the contestants? I'm gonna tell you right now, yes. And there is a difference between like constructive criticism and just being terrible for no reason. And I feel like 99% of the time on that show, Janice Dickinson was terrible for no reason.
When Tyra Banks came to me and asked me to do the show, she said, I'm doing this show. It's going to be reinventing models. It's going to make them feel very secure. It's going to be behind the scenes. It's going to be like the dark side of beauty. And I was like thinking to myself, I sort of think that way anyway, because I was that world's first supermodel. She said, I want you to be like Simon Cowell. I said, Simon Cowell, I love him. She said, no, how he is on American Idol, how direct and slightly negative and powerful.
So she said slightly negative and you did what you did. This is only slightly negative? This is the shit that like traumatizes people. There have been contestants that said that the comments that Janice Dickinson made had them turn to EDs, and that's not okay. And sure, Janice could probably be like, well, that's just how the industry was. And yeah, we all know that's the stigma in the modeling industry. People make jokes about it and stuff, but I mean, I guess it's true to an extent. And Janice almost personified that toxic part of the modeling industry. Janice Dickinson showed up and she was like, I'll just be that, except a person. Now, it's a little bit more than slightly negative when you're giving people a lifetime of EDs and like body image issues. And I've had body image issues my entire life also, and I think it stems from America's Next Top Model. Not even kidding, because like I said, I used to watch it all the time. And even like I'm definitely not as skinny as I used to be. You know, I'm in my 30s, have had 2 kids, but even in my skinniest days, and I look back at those pictures and I'm like, damn, like you were snatched, like, and I thought I was too heavy. And I even remember I was always too short to be on America's Next Top Model. I would have never been casted anyway, but I had dreams of being on the show just like probably every other girl in America. I knew I wouldn't because I'm literally 5'1". Even on the short cycles, it was like 5'7" and below, and like I don't think anyone was like under 5'3". Like 5'3", people were like, it's like, I would never get on there. They'd be like, why are you even trying? But that being said, not just my height, like I always thought, oh, I got too much pooch. I got too much body fat. I was 105 pounds. And I'm like, I'm too big for America's Next Top Model. That's crazy. Well, thankfully I have a husband who always tells me he thinks I'm beautiful, and he, you know, whatever, like he doesn't care what my weight is or whatever, but I do, and I always have. And I think that does stem from the shit people like Janice Dickinson were saying on TV back in the day, you know? And now here she is being like, oh, I was just like, that was just my job. No, especially if Tyra was like just slightly negative. No, Janice.
And I was like, well, I can do that. That's easy, just to be sarcastic. That's part of who I am. Miss Sarcasm, a go-go.
You were doing more than that.
It is a show that I didn't really see when the models first came out. The choices of these girls was not on par with any of the agencies I'd ever been in. They were cute, lots were bouncy, but if you're gonna try to work hard to be a supermodel, it's a lot more than just changing your ethnicity or doing half face of makeup, which she got from my book. It's a lot more than these chests working with snakes.
Okay, Janice just said Tyra approached her with this job saying, I'm gonna reinvent the modeling industry, like we're gonna change it up, these are gonna be different, like I'm gonna redefine what beauty standards are in the industry and stuff. And now Janice is like, yeah, it was just so weird, like I got on the show and everyone looked different than I was used to. It's like, you just said that's what Tyra approached you with when you were asked to do the show, and then you're like, what? It almost feels like the whole time she was on that show, she was gatekeeping who was allowed to be a model, because, you know, she's Janice Dickinson. She's the first supermodel ever. She's like, yeah, posing with snakes isn't gonna make someone a supermodel. Okay. So to feel that way about the first season, sure, maybe then you come back for a second season after the first season was so successful, now you have a bigger budget, whatever, I could see that. But after the second season, if that's how you really felt, Janice, and you were like super gatekeepy on the industry, which she clearly is, why did you stay for 2 more seasons, you know? And then why did you keep coming back for little challenges here and there and stuff? Like, why were you still somewhat involved even after you stopped being a judge? If you really felt that this was just like not gonna do anything for anyone, and if you're just such a good person, then why were you still involved? It just doesn't make any sense.
Honey, I never work with snakes. I work with crocodiles and sharks.
Oh, okay, so that's different. You know, as a matter of fact, there was a crocodile shoot, which I don't remember. I wrote it in my notes somewhere. I don't remember what cycle it was, but they were posing with a crocodile or an alligator or something, and I was watching some interview with someone, because there's a lot of models on YouTube who have done like independent interviews who have said even more than like what appeared on the documentaries, which is why I'm like trying to make this video in the first place, because there's so much more out there that the documentaries aren't showing. But anyway, one of them was saying, I'm sorry, like this obviously isn't a scripted video, I'm just providing commentary, but so this is off the top of my head, but one person said that this crocodile photo shoot, like the crocodile had been like drugged up into oblivion, which is like so sad. I think that was not a shoot done in America, so I don't, you know, animal well-being laws and ethics and standards and stuff are different in other countries, I guess, but like that's really fucked up. But then when Janice says that stuff, she's like, I worked with crocodiles and sharks. Okay, like how many drugs were given to those crocodiles and sharks that you... Also, I gotta see this shit.
A few moments later.
Okay, I searched Janice Dickinson with a shark. I don't see shit. I'm not saying it didn't happen, but I'm not seeing anything about any of that. Dude, is she just like making this shit up at this point? Probably, I don't know. But also for her to be like, snakes, try a shark. Sharks, like, they'll eat you alive or whatever. And obviously, like, the snakes that they have models posing with are like pythons and stuff. They're not poisonous, but people still have like very serious fears of snakes and bugs and tarantulas, spiders and stuff. Like, those are like legitimate fears for people. And she's like kind of delegitimizing those fears by being like, well, you think posing with a snake is traumatic? Have you tried posing with a shark? Janice, what? Where?
But never snakes. I could not tolerate a snake crawling on my body. That's one thing I would have to say no to. Could you work with a snake?
What is her point? She's like talking shit about like, oh yeah, the models were doing snakes. No, I do crocodiles and sharks. And then she's like, I would never do a snake, by the way. It's like, you were making it sound like a snake ain't shit compared to sharks. And maybe that's just my thought, because I'd rather hang out with a snake any day than a shark. But I don't know. I don't know what her point is. It's so weird. Oh, this is part one continued. Okay.
Yes, I was harsh, but I was paid to be harsh. If they're going to hear something from me, I felt it kind of would desensitize them when they go out in the real working world.
In theory, yeah, I guess it should have, right? Because, you know, you're Janice Dickinson. She literally traumatized people, though. And all this is just giving, I was just doing my job. Where have we heard that before? That's not a valid excuse for being a piece of shit. Because if you are paid to do a job that you feel you morally and ethically cannot do for one reason or another, whatever your reasons may be, if you continue doing it, you are betraying your morals and your ethics for money, for a job. And your job, Janice, just so happened to be telling 100-pound, 5'9" women, the most socially, traditionally beautiful women of us all. You sat there and you called them fat. You told them they needed to lose weight. It's just wild to me, because then you see like Whitney, I think she won, was it cycle 10? She was the first plus size model to win. Girl, plus size? First of all, she's beautiful. She's still beautiful. But her body was freaking rocking back then. And they're like, you're plus size. Oh, okay. Excuse me. So for her to have the audacity to be like, oh my God, that girl, she's so fat. Okay, Janice, she's 100 pounds. And you can see her hip bones. Like, what do you mean she's fat? This kind of stuff not only ruined the contestants' self-esteem on the show, I feel like I was saying earlier, gave me self-esteem issues. Like, I honestly am tying all this back to how much I watched this freaking show growing up. I think that the stuff that Janice Dickinson was saying on reality TV show back in the early 2000s gave our entire generation image issues. And she's like, I was just doing my job. Okay, so you were just like willing to harm people and their self-esteem and their self-image for money. That was what your job was, and you did that for 4 cycles. The lack of accountability here. So far, we've heard everything's Tyra's fault. Also, this was my job. I was just doing my job. But also, I'm Janice Dickinson, so anything I say, they should probably just take it as good advice because I'm Janice Dickinson. Bitch, I don't care who you are. And man, I'm so glad that like humanity as a whole now is so into holding people like Janice Dickinson accountable today. I wish that accountability had been seen back then, but you know, the conversation has started now. The accountability begins now. She doesn't seem to be taking any for herself though. And I don't think Janice Dickinson's the type of person who ever would take responsibility for anything she ever did anyway.
That's how photographers and makeup artists and editors and magazine editors and stylists, that's how they kind of talk. They'll talk straight to your face.
I mean, maybe, sure, I don't know. I've never been in that situation before. I think back to all the episodes where they're going on go-sees. Some of the designers, like, they know what they want, right? This is their business, this is their job. But most of them were not mean at all. Maybe to the camera, they'd be like, absolutely not, I wouldn't book her or whatever. But like, they still held reasonable, basic human decency in interactions with the contestants. You know what, Janice? I'm sorry if you experienced this yourself, if this was your experience, but then it just goes back to like, back in my day, I had to pay for college myself, so why should my tax dollars go to forgiving student loan debt, huh? If I had to do it, you have to do it. It's like that kind of thing, you know what I mean? It's like, why are we still having this attitude? Anything that makes people's lives better, whether it be just treating them like a fellow human being, golden rule, do unto others as will be done unto you, or whatever the fuck it says, whether or not you had that back when you were young, back when it was relevant to you, that doesn't mean that the people today shouldn't have it. If it makes people's lives better now, you should be happy to allow people to have a better experience than you were afforded. And I feel like Janice is, like I said, she's very gatekeepy with the modeling industry. And I feel like she has this attitude. She's like, well, when I was a model, people were terrible to me. It's not just being like, I was rejected. I was told no. Like, that's not what this is. This is not what we were seeing coming from Janice Dickinson. This was like, put you down as hard as I possibly can and make you feel as small as I possibly can and then reject you. Does that happen in the fashion world? Probably. But like, please. And these are young girls. These are like 18 to 24 usually, as maybe 25 at the oldest, which I do even remember there was like a soundbite of Janice Dickinson being like, she is ancient, she is too old to be a model. It's like, you're 25. I don't remember who it was she was talking about at that point, but yeah, like that kind of stuff. Instead of being a good person and wanting better for the people who have come after you, if you are paving the path towards a more ethical modeling industry, wouldn't you want to fight back against the terrible shit that happened to you? Instead, you're like, I had to go through it, so the rest of you have to also. I don't think that's right. Anyway.
Oh my God, you could be from Mars. You can't believe the things I've heard about myself. I'm not backpedaling. I was harsh, but a good harsh.
Janice, I'm gonna hold your hand when I say this. I don't think a single goddamn thing that came out of your mouth on that TV show was good. No, you just objectively were not good in any way.
It's like the professor in school. The hard, mean professor that you'll remember, as opposed to all the sweet, nice, sweet baby the models. You know, I can't. There's no babying in the modeling industry. You have to get it straight and hear it from the top people out there.
Okay, so that was that. I think it's an excuse. All right, part 2. Did ANTM encourage body dysmorphia / disorders? I can answer that. Yeah, sure did.
Here's the deal. When you get to Paris and your agency sees you, they're going to ask you, you need to lose 5 pounds. You need to lose 10 pounds. It's better to hear it from someone who's going to be promoting you.
Okay, Janice, and who did you promote? After America's Next Top Model, like, are you really gonna sit here and be like, yeah, and then after the show, I helped all these girls get jobs, and no, you didn't. You're not promoting them. I feel like she lives in Delulu land.
Instead of arriving at a designer's door, knocking on the door saying, hi, I'm Shelby from Wisconsin, and I'm here to work for Mr. Versace. Well, he's dead. His sister lets him in. And she's going to say, oh, no. You are too large for this line. You have to fit a certain line. I mean, I'm hearing what I heard from my own experience. I meant what I meant. You have to be a certain size to be a supermodel. There
might have been a time where the industry was kind of changing. Although if you do look around, like Ozempic has really taken modeling, acting, like famous, like celebrity industries, like 10,000 steps backwards. But I feel like before Ozempic, we were doing real good for a while. Oh man, people are looking scary out there these days. Then it might not just be Ozempic. It might be like straight up, you know, EDs coming back and stuff. And not that they ever went away, but I don't know. But I also feel like it's probably different between designers. Yeah, if you want to walk for Versace in a Paris runway show, like, yeah, they're probably going to want a very specific body type for their clothing. But it's like, if you don't fit that body type, then don't try out for Versace, you know? Don't go to a Go See for Versace. Go to another designer who is more body positive, I guess. I don't know. Sounds to me like if you don't fit those very specific body types, then it's like going for a job that you're not qualified for, you know? So find another designer who does want a body type like yours. And I feel like those exist, but in Janice Dickinson's mind, she's like, no, it's just, you know, Versace. And maybe when Janice was on the show, you know, those more body positive designers, maybe they were a lot more few and far between, but it's just weird for her to be like sitting up there and saying it now, and like as if that's still the case. Because when's the last time Janice Dickinson walked on a runway show? You know, probably a hot minute ago. There's got to be more body positivity in the industry today than there was back then, even though, you know, shit's kind of taking steps backwards. But again, this is something that, like, she could have easily explained this, be like, oh, back then it was like that. It's not like that anymore now, and, you know, I wish it was like that back then, but, you know, that just wasn't reality. She's not saying that. She's just being like, if you go try to get a job with Versace, they're gonna tell you you're fat. If you're not 5'10" and 110 pounds, then don't go looking for a Versace runway show. There's so many other opportunities for models than just walking on a Versace runway in Paris, you know? I just feel like she's so out of touch. It's out of touch. And like, I've never been in the modeling industry. I don't know shit about anything. But my friend Jeremy does hair for Fashion Week. I've seen the models he works on, and they're all gorgeous, drop dead gorgeous, but they're not twig thin like Janice Dickinson has always been all the time, you know? If you're at New York Fashion Week and there are models of all different shapes and sizes there, then you sitting here saying like, oh, you can't be a model unless you're a size 0, that's just not the reality. And I really hope it doesn't revert back to the old ways that Janice Dickinson knows of. But at the same time, it's like Tyra Banks. She's always been more curvy, and she was a supermodel. So Janice, I know obviously we can't all be Tyra Banks, can't all have the perfect body that Tyra Banks has, but her body's not comparable to Janice Dickinson. They're two body types that they're totally different, and they were both supermodels. What is she talking about? I can't. Okay.
You have to fit into like a 0 to a 2, and none of those girls were 0 to 2s. And I didn't induce any of those girls to go in there and stop eating or become. You're either a or you're not.
What? No, you know there are other besides an right, Janice? What the hell is she talking about? And then for her to be like, I never told anyone to stop eating. Okay, but you like told people they were fat. So what do you think they're gonna do next? And in the first part of this video, she's like, there wasn't much to eat on set. It's like, okay, if you guys didn't have much to eat and you were like the panel of judges making thousands of dollars per episode, you're the judges, you know, you're the ones who are on payroll, and they couldn't even feed you guys. And what do you think they were doing for the models? I'll tell you what they were doing for the models. Sarah said that they were making $37 a day. I said making, more like they were given $37 a day, and that was supposed to feed them for the day. $37. Yeah, that would be way more difficult today to live off of, especially in New York or LA. But that's really not that much money. Like, if that's what their allowance was for eating, you guys, it's like they weren't eating much already, and you're like sitting here being like, you're fat. It's like, okay, well, I'm in a competition, and if Janice Dickinson says that I need to lose weight, then I guess I need to do that. So then what do you think the next thing is that they do, Janice? You can't just sit there and like tear people down like that and destroy their body image and then be like, I never told anyone to stop eating. Maybe you didn't say that word for word, but you're a judge on the reality show that they are competing in. What do you think they're gonna do? They're obviously there to win. They want to win. So what do you think comes next, Janice? It's a Delulu.
I've seen a lot of models in the industry, and I feel sad for them. What can I do for them? Nothing. Your agents should be on their case.
That was the end of that. Okay. All right. Part 3, Shandi. Oh, God. I'm sure most of us have watched the documentary at this point, but if you haven't, Shandi was a case from, I think she was in season 2. Long story short, without being too triggering, she had a boyfriend, and the show depicted and edited the situation to look like she had cheated on said boyfriend. Shandi went on the Netflix documentary, and told her story, and basically said production had encouraged her to drink a lot, and she drank so much that she ended up blacking out, but still like you know, if you've ever drinking a little bit too much alcohol, you know what it's like to be blackout drunk but still like functioning, right? That's what she was doing. Like no memory of what was happening, like very patchy memories, just kind of like here and there. But so she remembers enough to know what happened, but generally no control over the situation. Like she wasn't fucking conscious, you know? I absolutely know exactly what I believe that to be. Rhymes with word great, but a lot of people are out here arguing, being like, no, she knew what she was doing. No. This was an environment where she was failed on so many levels, and I feel so bad for Shandi because she had that airing on TV in like 180 countries or something over and over and over again for like 20 years, and it had everyone believing she was just this like slimy, nasty cheater. After hearing her story on the Netflix documentary and seeing her like break down talking about it 2 decades later, it's like, no, this is more than what was edited to appear that way. Anyway, Janice has stuff to say about Shandi.
I had no idea what was going on between Shandi and that Italian boy that she was in the jacuzzi with, and she went on the back of the moped.
I believe her when she says this because, yeah, you weren't there, Janice, and she wasn't in the editing room and whatever. Tyra was. Allegedly, Tyra was always in the editing room. So, I will say, I believe Janice Dickinson when she says, I didn't know what was going on.
I had absolutely no idea. I swear on my mother and children. If I had found out that was going on at the time, further, when Shandi got into bed that night and the boy climbed into her bed, they were filming that with cameras in the bedroom. I do not think that's right, and I would have stopped production.
Would you have, Janice? Really? Now, I will say, Janice has come out and said that she has some trauma related to this in her childhood. I don't know the details about it, but it doesn't sound very good. So, you know, maybe she does have a soft spot for that kind of thing, but you guys, it's Janice Dickinson. Come on. And clearly she did this for 4 cycles and came back. Yeah, if Shandi was on season 2, Janice was a regular judge for 2 seasons after that. So this aired, she sees it, and she's like, I would still like to continue working on this show, please. But I guess, you know, maybe you could say, well, that was because the editors, Tyra, wanted it to look like that. They didn't want it to look like it was just this party environment where Shandi was pressured into drinking way too much and making bad decisions, but she wasn't in a state of mind to be able to make any decisions at that point anyway. But if Janice had been in charge, you know, I don't know her personally, but what I've seen from her on TV, something tells me she wouldn't give a shit. I call bullshit. I don't think I've ever seen a moment where she genuinely cares about anything other than herself.
I wasn't anywhere near their hotel, or I was in a separate hotel. But when I heard about it, I was fucking livid. Because these young girls need to be protected.
So livid that you signed on for 2 more seasons of the show after this happened? Save it, dude. Not just 2 seasons. She came back time after time to be guest judges and shit. Like, really? Like, we're really supposed to believe this? Like, I swear she thinks we're stupid. She's trying to, like, rewrite history and be like, no, I was a really good person. I don't know, Janice.
Are you kidding me? I would be so outraged if that happened to my daughter.
Sure, to your daughter, but a contestant on a reality show that you were a main judge of? I doubt it.
Beyond the beach. So outraged. So that is not correct. To have these cameras in the bathroom, in the shower, in the jacuzzi, or in the bedroom. They tried to do it to me. I always put the hat over the camera. But I can do that. I'm Janice Dickinson. The girls can't do that because they don't have the confidence that I have.
Oh my God. Yeah, I don't think anyone has the confidence that you have, Janice. But no, I mean, they would be yelled at by production and probably been thrown off the show if they had done that. It wouldn't have been a matter of confidence. It would have been like, hey, little puppet that's supposed to be dancing for me, why are you intruding on our production? You know, like, why are you trying to destroy our production process? You know, like, I don't think it's a matter of confidence, Janice.
I think I want to go cry and vomit right now because I feel bad. But it's a question and it needs to be answered. So I think you got the answer.
I mean, I guess, yeah, no, she wasn't involved in all that shit, but had she been, I don't think what she is saying would have actually happened. That's just my opinion. Okay, so this next one is about Keenyah. Keenyah is the gorgeous girl who Janice and everyone kept saying she was fat. The edit on the show made it look like she was like just eating all the time, and like she came out, you know, later. I think she was on both documentaries. She was definitely on the E documentary. I feel like she was on Netflix also. I don't know. She was basically just saying like, no, like I ate a bagel one time and then they kept editing it to look like I just kept eating more and more bagels, and they were like using shots of her like with a plate, like a full plate of food. They're like zooming into a plate of food that she had finished, like an empty plate with crumbs on it. Like that was the narrative they played into making her the fat girl. She was beautiful. Incredible body. Yeah, we'll see what Janice says here. I feel like she's going to, again, be like, she just wasn't, you know, the size of that a model should be. She just wasn't that. And I was just straight up and honest with her because that's how the industry is. It's like, I'm pretty sure Keenyah went on to have modeling work after this. So it sounds like you're wrong, Janice, but okay.
I always loved Keenyah. But what I would have done in that circumstance, I would have kicked him so fast in the nuts.
Oh, okay. She's talking about, there was a photo shoot where this actually has nothing to do with the weight thing I was talking about. This is another Keenyah situation. There was a photo shoot where a guy was like coming on to her. They didn't show it on the show, but Keenyah said in one of the documentaries that he had a boing, you know, and was like rubbing it on her and stuff and like grunting in her ear and stuff. So she stopped the shoot and she's like, I am uncomfortable. And then Jay was like, well, Jay actually said in another interview or maybe even one of the documentaries that he didn't know what to do in this situation. So he like stopped and went and talked to production and was like, I don't know what to say in this situation. What do I do? And production was just like, just tell him it's a, you know, a professional situation or whatever, and just to keep professional or whatever. So that's what Jay did. And then at judging, Tyra was like, but you were hired to do a job. Like this was your job and you were supposed to remain professional and like you can't stop the shoot. But like basically being like, well, you should have just dealt with it. You should have just put up with it. You know, that's basically the feedback that Keenyah was given. When really, okay, what Janice just said was, yeah, I would have kicked him in the nuts. So this is a situation where I'm like, well, you're Janice Dickinson. You can do that. Janice is right. Men like that deserve to be publicly humiliated at the very least. But quite frankly, Keenyah was in no place to do that. You know, she didn't know what to do, but she was uncomfortable. She voiced her concerns. And again, just like everyone does on the show, she was failed. And she was put in a very uncomfortable situation against her will. Because no one wanted to help her get out of that situation. It's just awful. Anyway.
I would have kicked him in the balls and then I would just scratch his eyes out and run off the set.
Oh, Janice, that's definitely assault. Like, I don't think you could even get away with doing that. You could be Janice Dickinson all day long. You can't scratch someone's eyes out and get away with it just because you're Janice Dickinson. I know she's being sarcastic and overdramatic about it, but I also at the same time believe that she would do that if someone put her in a situation where she was that uncomfortable.
If the producers didn't catch that from Keenyah, that's on them. Let me tell you something, Tyra. You said on this episode, you have to do it in a fun way, not to upset anyone on the set.
Yeah, that was stupid. That was terrible advice. Fuck Tyra for saying that shit. Times were different 20 years ago, but like, not today. It shouldn't have happened back then either, obviously, but like, no, I mean, I do agree with Janice on this, but at the same time, this is like completely irrelevant. What I would have done if I was Keenyah, like, or if that would have happened to me, it's irrelevant. It didn't happen to you, it happened to Keenyah. So, and I don't know what Janice said on the judging panel about all that. I'd have to go back and rewatch the episode.
Tummy action again. You learn how to suck it in, girlfriend. She looks pudgy.
If you were seriously so disturbed by what had happened to the point where it's like, oh, if that were me, I would have physically assaulted that man. She would have quit right then, been like, I can't be a part of this. Like, women are being harassed on the show and I don't want to be part of it anymore. But she didn't do that, did she?
If this guy was groping you in between your legs, I guarantee you would have sidekicked him by the side of his head and just walked off or stopped production.
Well, yeah, that's what she probably wanted to do, but, you know, she was on a reality TV show competition, surrounded by industry professionals that she was trying to impress.
I guarantee you would do that, because I know you. The real Tyra would have done that.
Oh, she's talking about Tyra. Okay. Yeah, Tyra probably would have also. But again, she's Tyra Banks. She can do that. Was Keenyah Tyra Banks? No. As a matter of fact, she was on Tyra Banks' TV show where Tyra Banks is like, you have to still stay professional and you can be a little silly about it. But you know what? Here's the thing about men who do that shit and act like that. When you start getting like playful, if you try to be playful about it, they think that you're like into it. And that guy was clearly delusional. There was like a scene where he said something to her and she was like, no, I just got my makeup done, or like, I have to go get my makeup done, or something like that. Like she was just like letting him down easy, but being sarcastic about it.
Can you give me that massage?
He wants a massage from you.
Sorry, gotta go run the wardrobe after this.
It's like, okay, so she kind of was doing that, and then they got on set and he did what he did. Doing. But sure, yeah, you know what? Janice is right, and I do applaud her for calling out Tyra on this one too, because I think Tyra was dead wrong in what she said, and probably hypocritical, because I think Janice is right. If it had been Tyra and she wasn't into it, she probably would have flipped out too. But again, she's Tyra Banks. You're Janice Dickinson. You guys are not on the same level of notoriety to be able to get away with at least like being like, I'm done, and walking off. Because if Keenyah would have done that, how would judging would have gone? Oh, that's not professional. You can't just do that. All these people are here on set. They're set up to photograph you, and there's so many people on payroll who are being paid, and this is their job and their schedule. Like these things are so tight and blah, blah, blah. You can't just walk off set. So what was she supposed to do?
The real Janice would have kicked him in the balls, stopped production, and say, this guy keeps touching me and I don't like it. I don't want to be here. The producer should have listened to what she was saying. She was uncomfortable, and you can see the hurt and pain in her eyes.
Yeah, and it is also really interesting that Janice is being like, if it were me, I would have stopped production. I mean, Keenyah did that too, and production was just basically like, just stay professional, guys. Please stop making each other uncomfortable, and let's just get through this.
Once again, it's on ANTM that did that or created that situation, and they should have yanked that African guy right out of the picture.
For once, so far, I agree with her. All right, part 5. Did I agree with the extreme makeovers? Like the tooth thing, like closing Danielle's gap, or Danny's gap, or whatever she went by on the show. And then, what was that other girl's name? And they're like, let's make it wider, like 3 seasons later. Yeah, that's fucked up. Yanking teeth out of someone's mouth. That's fucked up. For a reality show, please. Joni was saying she still has bite issues after that. To this day, she's still dealing with that shit. So that's fucked up. But I don't know. I'm biased about this with hair and stuff because, like, I am very impulsive and I change my hair all the time. I've shaved my head. Yeah, you probably noticed I have a Lord Farquaad haircut going on right now because I had an undercut that I'm growing out and it was annoying me. So I just cut all my hair the same length so it can all grow out together. I feel like people who cry over their hair, I'm like, suck it up. It's just hair. It'll grow back. But maybe that's just because, like, I have trichotillomania, so, like, I have had to force myself to not be attached to my hair because I pull it out. It's an impulse control disorder. Can't control it when I do it. But then also there was, what was that girl's name? Gina? She was on, like, one of the last, if not the last cycle. She had alopecia, and that's terrible because that's, like, there's nothing you can do about that. That's traumatic, of course. And what they did to her, I think, was unfair given her condition. Girls who were like, oh, my hair is so long and pretty, I don't want to cut it. It was like, it's hair, it'll grow back. Anyway, I am very biased when it comes to that. I do understand people tying their beauty and their identity to their hair sometimes, but, like, I openly will say I lack sympathy in the hair department, but when it comes to ripping people's teeth out and stuff and fucking up their smiles and shit, yeah, I can get on board with someone being mad about that shit. Anyway.
In episode 2, they discussed pulling of the teeth, putting in a tooth for a gap or taking it out. Really painful things like, you know, a girl's got like a lot of hair, they shave it all off. So the model ends up with a bald head. These things were just terrifying. I mean, I would never authorize that for a model or myself because they wouldn't be able to get away with it. But these girls were naive and they had nobody to ask. There was no agent they could call and say, do you think I should do this? I close the gap in my mouth. They didn't have their phones.
That's true. This is actually a really good point that I hadn't considered before also. Like, Janice is correct about this, because I feel like they really did take advantage of the girls when it came to makeovers with that. It was like, this is what Tyra says you have to do, and if you don't do it, then you're disrespecting Tyra, and that was it. Again, yeah, no agents, no nothing. And there was even one season where they didn't tell the girls what makeovers they were even gonna get. So they had to sit in a chair and let it happen. Yeah, so that's messed up, because they didn't even have a chance to be like, no, you were not doing that to my head. Because I think there have been a few contestants that said, no, do not touch my hair. You are not doing that to my hair. And then they were like eliminated shortly after. Like, I don't think any of the people who have ever refused a makeover, a tie over, I don't think any of them have made it very far. Tyra's ruling that place with the iron fist and being like, if you don't let me do whatever I want to you, then you clearly are disrespecting me. And I think that's really fucked up. Like, that part of it is fucked up. Like, not giving people a choice. I hadn't considered the whole thing where, like, in the real world, models would have an agent or an agency or whatever representing them and being like, should I do this to my appearance? Because it is tied to their job. And you would think that, like, Tyra obviously has a good read on what styles would suit what person and get them further in their careers and stuff. But then I think to Brittany, I think her name was Brittany, the redhead, she had that weave and they had it like sewn in so bad. Oh my God, and there was another girl, I don't remember who this was, but like I remember it was getting like a blonde weave. They like did the braids in like a circle and then attached and it like you could see like the hairline like was just like so messed up. It was just a mess. But to like sit there for like 10 hours and get a weave put in that is itchy and uncomfortable, causing you pain. And yeah, because I remember Tyra was telling Brittany, you gotta do the weave pack. Girl, it's fine. I've had a lot of weaves and I know you gotta, it's like, no, clearly like her scalp was bright red, Tyra. Like I think after a certain point, Tyra did agree to take the weave off of Brittany's head, but it was like a few episodes, like a few weeks where she had this like very painful weave sewn into her head and no one did anything about it until it was like, okay, like you really need to do something about this, The caption on this video is just, I would never let anyone shave my head, okay? But again, like you just said, Janice, you have an agent to call and be like, should I shave my head? Someone said I should shave my head. Should I do it? And they'll be like, no. By the way, for the record, I think every woman should shave their head once in their lives because it is the most freeing and magical and fantastic thing. The grow out process sucks, but like having that shaved head is like life-changing, so freeing of beauty standards. And I think again, like, because I have trichotillomania, so it was like that was like the final boss for me to be like, I'm just gonna shave all my hair off and be like, fuck it, I don't care about hair anymore, shave it all off. Like that was a personal thing for me. But you know what, I would do it again, and the only reason I haven't is because the grow out process is annoying, but it feels great, and I think everyone should do it at least once. If you're watching this and you've ever considered shaving your head but you're too scared to do it, fucking do it, man. Just do it.
I really feel bad for the girls that had to go to the dentist.
Yeah, me too.
To get their teeth pulled out. That just makes me want to cry. That's just sad. That's just inhumane.
Okay, so that was that one. We have one more. This is, did ANTM portray modeling accurately? Oh, we already know she's gonna say no.
This show does not portray what models have to go through to be a model. I didn't say supermodel, I said a model.
I will admit, maybe I just like am too naive or uninformed to know the difference between a model and a supermodel. I mean, I guess I do know the difference. Like a supermodel walks runways and stuff, right? But what is the line that you cross that's like, I'm a model? No, now I'm a supermodel. Is a supermodel just a super famous model? Is that the only difference? Or do supermodels do different work? Please excuse my naivete on this subject, but she's making a very blatant distinction between model and supermodel. The show is called America's Next Top Model, not America's Next Supermodel, not America's Next Top Supermodel. If there is a difference, if there is a distinction, the show itself is saying we're making models. No one ever said, oh yeah, this is to turn everyone into a supermodel. That just wasn't in the show title. Like it really wasn't discussed. It was just like, if you're gonna be a model, if you're gonna be a model, if you're gonna be like, It wasn't one of those things that they were always saying, like, if you're gonna be a supermodel, you gotta do this. I'm sure they said it here and there on the show, but like thinking back, they were always referred to as models. So like, hey, Janice, it already feels irrelevant to be like, no, this show doesn't accurately represent what it means to be a supermodel. Well, did anyone ever say it did? Maybe you came into this like having misconceptions, Janice, because the rest of us are just like, yeah, the modeling industry, not the supermodeling industry. Like, I don't know. Janice would know better. Maybe a supermodel is just like a jack of all trades, you know, like they do acting, they do singing, they do modeling, they do whatever. They would have acting challenges and they would have this and that, you know, celebrity correspondent challenges and like news anchor challenges and stuff. Maybe. But so far what she said just feels irrelevant.
Tyra Banks was throwing out the word supermodel, like, you know, here, popcorn, popcorn, popcorn.
Was she?
You have to really work hard at your craft.
You know, maybe I just need to sit through all these old seasons again, but I just don't feel like she was throwing out the word supermodel like that. Like, it's just like, if you want to be a model, if you want to model, it wasn't if you want to be a supermodel. Like, no, it just wasn't.
Study the craft. You have to look in the mirror for hundreds of hours to copy some of the biggest names in the industry. When Tyra Banks and I clashed, a lot of it was real.
A lot of it? What clashes were not real? I want to know that.
Because I'm not going to give in, you know, with my low paycheck.
Define low paycheck. Even if she was getting like $20,000 an episode to be on the panel, it's like, I wouldn't call that a low paycheck, but hey, I'm not a supermodel. What do I know? I'm just a poor person.
You know, I'm not going to go against what my ideals are. I'm going to tell the truth. So we got into like, you know, bash, bash, bash. And that's what you saw.
So that's everything that Janice posted on her Instagram. Like, I guess apparently she does, like, people will walk, like, on TikTok or whatever, and then she, like, judges their walks and being like, oh, wow, yeah, you're really good at that. You're, you know, and so, okay, fine. You know, if that's working for her, that's great. I think that's a valid place for her to be, as long as she's not being a total asshole. Most of the videos she has on her Instagram, that's basically what she's doing. She's, like, judging people's walks on the internet, which, cool. Good for her. As long as she's not tearing people down and making people want to have an ED, then fine. One last thing I want to talk about though. So I found 2 different clips on YouTube of Janice Dickinson talking about why she ended up leaving Top Model after the 4th season. Remember when I was saying that she's been speaking out about all this for like 10 or 15 years? So in this video 14 years ago, Janice says she left the show because she found out that CoverGirl actually picks who's gonna be the winner, not the judges, not Tyra, which is kind of surprising, but it also makes sense. Like, if CoverGirl is the grand prize and they are a brand that, like, they are not gonna just, like, give $100,000 contract to, which I put that in quotes because that's a whole other thing. They're not just gonna give that to anyone that, like, Tyra Banks is like, yeah, she's good. You know, I guess it's not surprising, but Janice was like, I was paid to be a judge and give my input to who I think should win the show, blah, 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 blah. In reality, like, that's not how it was. And when I found out that I basically had no say in anything, that's why I left.
There was a way that, you know, that I experienced being on that show, being conned, thinking that I was actually helping judge a TV franchise, that actually my say had any input, but it really didn't, you see, because CoverGirl are the people that choose the model. Right. Not any of the judges, not what Tyra says. It's who CoverGirl thinks should win each season. When I found out, I split. It's rigged. That's why I was so depressed. Sitting there knowing that. None of my picks ever got to stay, and I was the only person on that panel that actually did something in the fashion world.
But then here in this clip, I think this was after Celebrity Rehab. This is like a totally different Janice that we've like never seen before. I call bullshit. I think this is the fakest person I've ever seen. But unfortunately, that's what 12-step programs do to people. Listen, if they've helped you, if they've helped people in your life and they're now better people because of them, fantastic. Love that for them. Unfortunately, the way I see 12-step programs is I think that they focus too much on trying to turn people to God or something to like cure them of their addictions and stuff, and I don't think that's right, because if you've been to my channel, you know how I feel about all that. I think that is a dangerous way to get someone to stay off of harmful substances for the rest of their lives. Maybe it works, you know, but I feel like, so many of them can relapse. If that's all it is like, well, God doesn't want me to do that. Well, what happens if you suddenly realize that you don't believe in that shit anymore? Then it's like, well, what am I doing this sobriety thing for, you know? Like, I feel like, personally, I feel like it's dangerous, and while it may be effective in getting people out, I don't think it's effective in keeping people away from addictions like that, but whatever. Regardless, in this clip, Janice says she was fired.
I love working with Tyra Banks. It was an amazing experience. Tyra's a tough businesswoman and she does great TV, and I respect her as a woman. I've said some pretty bad things about her in the past because I had been fired. I was very hurt that I'd been fired, and so I acted out, but that's not when I was acting in a sober-like fashion.
She also says a lot of nice things about Tyra, and she's like, oh, I love her, blah, blah, blah. But now, like, here she is, like, today, back on her old Janice shit, being like, everything bad that ever happened was Tyra's fault. I feel like Janice Dickinson is just such a fake person. Everyone looks at her and they're like, she is the real one. She says exactly what she's thinking and stuff. But it's like, okay, and, which may be true. I think, you know, she says shit and she means shit because I think she's just a terrible, evil person. I don't think that she has any common decency in her body, personally, in my opinion. And I think she's trying really hard to repair her image right now because of all the criticism being thrown at her right now, and probably have been thrown at her for years, especially now. But I feel like Janice has, or at least she tries to fall back on, like, plausible deniability with everything she does. So what I'm seeing here is the blame game. Tyra did this. It was my job. I was just doing my job. If it were me, I would have done this. It's like, there's no accountability here. It's pointing fingers and being like, well, if it was me, I wouldn't have done that. If I was in charge, I wouldn't have done that. Irrelevant. So where's the accountability? What the hell is the point of all these videos, Janice Dickinson? Anyway, that's all we're gonna look at today. Like I've been telling you this whole video, I will have a full, like, deep dive coming out about this topic, hopefully in a few weeks. I've started the scripting process. I've done most of the research. Like, it's gonna be a little bit of time to get it out because it's gonna end up being a big project, and there's just a lot of stuff to sift through. But that will be coming hopefully in a few weeks, so keep your eyes on this channel if you want to see that. Again, like, I'm not just gonna be the same person going over, oh, well, here's what they said in the documentary. No, I'm like putting clips from YouTube videos, Instagram stories, like whatever, like I'm putting all of that together in a video because there is more to the story than even what we saw in the E documentary, and I think the E one is definitely the better of the two mainstream documentaries that are trending right now, because I feel like the Netflix documentary was just like Tyra trying to save face, you know? But anyway, keep an eye out for that. It will be coming soon. Before we end this video, I need to say thank you to a few people. So thank you to my patrons and my members, guys. The list of names I'm about to read off are my financial supporters. They get access to things like our private Discord server. We have a postcard club, early access to videos whenever I'm able to provide them, and sometimes even more than that. So if any of that sounds good to you, you can go to patreon.com/SavannahMarie, or you can click the join button beneath this video to join my YouTube memberships. Just whatever works for you, works for me. With that, the biggest thank you in the whole wide world goes to R. Marie 10, Love to Be Evil, Nicole Hensley, Wendy Irons, Kim Nevins, Charcity, Luciana Valiente, Emily from Kansas, Hannah Moe, Alex Offbeat, Liz Sahu, Aaron Adler, LaSalle Story, Fluffy Duckbutt 24 Elaine, Ferd Turgeson Esquire, Just Mark, Alice Wagner, Fallon Harris, Jessica Billhart, Emion, Hula Chowdown, Jacqueline Nutton, Leanne, Kessie Drew, Marie Silver, Maddie Darley, Ray, and Caroline Reed. And to the rest of my financial supporters, thank you so much for being here and being you. Even if you're not a financial supporter, thank you for making it to the end of this video, and thank you for hopefully hitting that subscribe button, the like button, and those hype points. Those are really gonna do it for me if you're able to. Thank you so much for checking that and doing it if you think of it. Yeah, I'll be back hopefully in a few weeks with more America's Next Top Model bullshittery, and I hope you guys are into this topic. It's obviously trending right now, but my life has been spent watching America's Next Top Model, so this is like a very important topic for me to talk about. So thank you for being here. I appreciate it. I know it's not my normal, I don't even know what my style of content is anymore, but I'm just glad you're here. Anyway, with that, I'll see you when I see you. All right, bye.